this video demonstration, I'm going to use the brand new John Next Door Falling Stars DL die set from the Christmas collection 2021, and I love this set. Basically, you've got an inset panel with stars and with ribbon thread slots, so you can thread ribbon through it or use it as it is. And what I love about this, because it's stars, you can use this all year round. You've got an outside line which has a stitch detail and an inside panel, and then you have a beautiful section which you can repeat, which cuts you these strings of stars. Just so nice, this one. We're going to make a very simple classic card today with this one. So I'm going to start with a piece of Craft Artist satin card, and this is just in black. And what you want to do when you're doing a larger die or a larger set of frames is just tape the smaller one down first. If you notice, I'm taping it to the edges. Then you can use the long piece of tape to pick up the two other dies. So just take, I've got a long piece here, pick up the insert die, hover over till it's even, pick up that one and drop it in. But it's a lot easier doing it in two pieces than doing it in three. When you do it in three pieces, it can fall out when it's so large. So this die is slightly bigger than the plates on my Kaleido. So if you have got an A5 machine, it is quite simple to do. All we're going to do, and I'll show you this, is I put it so that it will cut the top bit, hanging the bottom out. So I run that through my machine as normal. I then simply slide the card along. Just pop that plate down so that the bottom is then engaged, and we run it back. And that way you don't have to use an A4 machine or get your A4 machine out to do a longer frame. So we'll take this one out. Here we go. And the frame will just drop out. Really simple, nice and easy. And then all we will do is to take and pop the little bits out. You may find some of these ones at the top, because obviously this has only had one pass, might take a little bit more pushing out, but will easily come out of place. So I'm just going to do that one. What we're going to do is we're going to imagine that I've popped all of these out. So what we want to do is, at this point then, you can start to thread ribbon through if you want to do that. So I've got here, this is a piece of sort of organza ribbon, and this is I think it's 7mm, but it will take different widths of ribbon. And all you actually do is you have two options on doing this. So I'm not going to do it on this card, but I wanted to show you. So I always start in the bottom right hand corner. We come through the first slot, go down through the second, and come up through the third. And that way you get the ribbon showing on top with just behind the star. But if you want to cover the star, what you can do is to come up through the second hole and go down through the first on the next set, come up through the second on the second set, and again just repeat that as you're going around, and that way you get the ribbon showing and it covers the star, and you get this beautiful ribbon stitch detail all the way around. So I'm going to show you one here I've already done. I've put gold behind this. I finished with a bow in the bottom corner and a couple of little bells, but I've gone the ribbon all the way around, so you've got that beautiful extra texture of the ribbon. Okay, but for this project, what we're actually going to do is we're going to just put card behind. So I've got a piece here of the vintage gold in the mirror card, and what I want is that frame to sit on there. Now, if you actually use both sections of the die, it's very difficult to tie it up. And what I mean by that is, I'll try and show you, is if you use or try to use the outside line and the inside line and match them up, you'll find it's actually very difficult to get it to the right size. So the easiest way to do this is to take a piece of card slightly larger than your frame piece and pop that middle section in the center, tape that down, and just cut that through. So we would run that through and cut it, and we would get a piece like this. There we go. Okay, and then the next thing is easy to do is we take our frame. So here's our frame with all our pieces cut out of it. And I would simply use some spray glue, but you could use the Craft Artist glue glaze or a fine glue applicator. Lots of different ways to add that. And what we do is we match up the centre. So the centre will be identical because it's cut with a die. So we match up that centre panel, and then we simply take a pair of scissors, or you could use your guillotine wheel paper trimmer, and just simply trim out the excess. That's far easier than trying to cut a frame piece that fits it. And when it's a rectangular frame like this, it is relatively easy to do. So there we go. And there we've got our frame cut with our gold stars shown. So I love black and gold. I think that really works beautifully well. So what we want to do now is to start with the panel for the inside. So for this time, I've taken a piece of gloss card in the black, again from the Craft Artist range, and this is slightly bigger. So all of these panels have been cut to 4 1/4 inches, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 centimeters. And I'm just going to put it in the middle because it's easier to trim out. And this is just the full length of the card, so this is 8 1/4 inches. And this die will fit perfectly through our Kaleido because it's slightly smaller. So we would just run that through and cut that. And I will just do that one. I was just checking there to see if I got a piece already cut. So we'll just take this one out. And you can see here, just be a little bit gentle when removing the die, and these panels will just fall away, and the stars are held with dots, so just be a little bit careful. But again, in a good card, they won't break. I've not actually had them break on me at all, which is very lucky. Okay, there we go. So there we've got our falling stars. So what I would do next is to take a piece of satin card. Again, this is using vintage gold, and I would cut it to approximately the same sort of size. So I cut it to approximately 4 inches. And what we want to do is add foam tape on the back of here. So simply, what you want to do is make sure you're supporting it right next to the aperture. So really simply next to the aperture, because this is where it wants supporting. Now what I've found is the way that these are made is these don't dip that much. However, if you are concerned about them dipping, you can take the little foam pads or take the foam tape and just cut some little pieces and pop a couple on the stars just to give you a little bit of support. I think that's the sort of loosest area. Let's just trim that one down a little bit. And you can see when I put that on, that gives us that lovely dimension, and they're kind of floating. So we would take off the foam tape and we would stick those down, and we would get just like this. Don't worry about the sizing at the moment. And then we would simply add our frame. So here's the frame that I made earlier. I've got one here that I've already put foam tape on. So we would drop that over the top. You see, you get that beautiful shadow through. Or we can use the one that's been threaded with the ribbon. So you've got different options and ways to do that. So I'm just going to take the foam tape off this. Really simple. And just mount that evenly over the top, ignoring the outside. And then simply take your scissors and undercut. So instead of cutting straight like that, tilt your scissors slightly so that they're going underneath that top die cut. And it's very easy when you've got foam tape. And that way it makes sure that nothing pops through on the front. So just going through each piece. And it's a lot easier than trying to line it up with them all at exactly the right size. And we're wasting very little card. We've got a few little strips. That's all we've got. And then all I would do is I've got a little sort of DL card blank here. I'm going to take, for speed, a little bit of power tape. I would suggest you use a wet glue, or if you do want to use double-sided tape on this, you want to be using something like a red line tape if you can't get the power tape. As normal double-sided adhesive, it will start to pull away. Double-sided adhesive tapes, in the length that they are, tend to dry and crack after a while. So we would just simply pop that on to our card blank. And there we've got our finished base card. And you would add a sentiment, a bow, any snowflakes, or anything that you want to on that. But you've got a very simple card that will really reflect light and looks absolutely beautiful.